Welcome. It is Wednesday Football Roundtable on From the Couch Sports Talk Radio. I am Sean, your gracious host, along with the birthday boy, David Lodick.
What's happening, everybody?
Happy birthday, David.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much.
Yeah. And for everyone watching, I just want to say, hey, we are dedicated. I was on here on my girlfriend's birthday. I was on here on my birthday, and now we're here on David's birthday.
That's right.
Because we care about you.
We do.
And we have to give you the real scoop in sports because I was watching Colin Cowherd and that Nick, whatever the long-haired dude is.
Yeah, Nick Wright.
Yeah, they were talking today about the Steelers, and they are a couple of idiots.
I don't know. Why? What were they speaking of?
Colin Cowherd and Nick Wright are both of the mind that they should have not grabbed Aaron Rodgers, which maybe I can kind of agree with. They should move on from TJ Watt. They should basically tell Mason Rudolph this is your year and kind of tank it, but they would have and not grab DK Metcalf and trade George Pickens. So they would have multiple first-round picks, multiple third-round picks, solve their cap problem, and they could then grab a long-term quarterback next year.
Well, and Sean, I don't think they're wrong. And here's why. This is why I say this, because the one thing that you have to remember about any kind of conversation like that is you have to look at your front office and your coaching staff first and foremost. And what I mean by that is this. If you are a team that goes through coaches like underwear, of course, you never, as the front office, as the GM, as the coach, you never want to do that because year in and year out, you are coaching for your job. In Pittsburgh, Mike Tomlin will be the head coach as long as Mike Tomlin wants to be the head coach. They are not going to fire him. He will quit before they fire him. And so in the case of the Pittsburgh Steelers, I say this. I agree with Nick Wright and I agree with Colin Cowherd. When you have a system or when you have a coach in Mike Tomlin who isn't going to be going anywhere, at what point do you reset? At what point do you start? Because look, the fact is there are teams and New England, who's a perennial 20-plus year AFC champion, going to Super Bowls, going to AFC championships, going to divisional, all those things. When Tom Brady left, the teardown began and the process to rebuild started. And franchises, I believe, have to go through that. And there are some franchises with good front offices, solid head coaches, solid structure that can go through that and live through that. Pittsburgh is one of them because you're not getting rid of your coach. You are not firing Mike Tomlin. And I believe the fan base in Pittsburgh would be much more accepting of a team that went through a partial teardown and rebuild to bring the franchise back to have a championship caliber team, as opposed to the middling team that finishes above 500, either just making the playoffs or just missing the playoffs, but picking in the 16 to 20 range year in and year out. At some point, you have to make a decision. At some point, you have to say we are either going all in or we're going all out. And they have done neither in the last 7 years. They are in a holding pattern. They are in a, okay, let's go out and sign this 35, 41-year-old quarterback. Let's not fix the problem. Let's just put a Band-Aid on the problem while the rest of our team falls apart. And we're going to go put a Band-Aid on a team that's crumbling around the edges. You're not building continuity throughout the team. You're trying to put a Band-Aid on a deep gash that's just going to keep bleeding through the Band-Aid. And so I don't necessarily agree with moving on from TJ Watt. I believe you still have to have your defense be sound, and TJ Watt is one of, if not the best defensive players in football. So I don't necessarily say you go and get rid of TJ Watt. But again, if you're going to drag your feet on a contract for a guy who deserves that contract, I don't know what to tell you. And it's kind of like what I say about the Cincinnati Bengals. You talk about a team that, what is their weakness? Their weakness is their defense. Okay, they went out and paid Joe Burrow $50 million, Jamar Chase $35 million, T. Higgins $20 million or $24 million or whatever, and all the offensive side of the ball is all taken care of, and you're ignoring your weakness on your team. The only people that are stopping Cincinnati from doing anything good is the Cincinnati front office, because they drag their feet and they're prioritizing things on their team, and they need to prioritize the weaknesses that will allow them to get better.
Okay, and we're going to talk about Cincinnati in just a minute here, because there's some shit going on in Cincinnati.
Yeah,
but so they finally get Rodgers, which we all knew this was coming forever, but of course, in pure Aaron Rodgers style, it's got to wait till the last minute, just like it did with the fucking Jets. People are like, oh, Aaron's washed up. Aaron's washed up. Aaron is not washed up. Like, the second you count him out, he's like Larry Bird. Oh, is Larry Bird done? Larry Bird done? Then he goes out, he puts up 62. Honestly, in the AFC North, do you see the Pittsburgh Steelers as the number 2 or the number 3 team in the AFC North?
Again, I will say this. A lot of it, depending on me, is what Cincinnati does with their defensive players. If Cincinnati re-signs Trey Hendrickson, if Cincinnati gets their front office straight and signs their second-round draft pick.
First-round draft pick.
Or first round, yeah, Shamar Stewart.
Yep,
I see Pittsburgh as a third-place team, because still, at the end of the day, you have to be able to outscore your opponent. And I don't think Pittsburgh did enough on the offensive side of the ball, other than shuffling pieces. You get rid of you get rid of George Pickens, you bring in DK Metcalf, both talented wide receivers. Okay. Is DK Metcalf a little bit less of a head case? Yeah. Is he talented? Yeah. Has he proven it? Yeah. Okay. Russell Wilson and Aaron Rodgers, I would say, are complementary. I mean, Aaron Rodgers had a great career, but Aaron Rodgers is not the Aaron Rodgers of 4 years ago. Okay. And the fact is, like I said, and this is where it's going to come down to, and I said this before, offensive lines. Okay. When you look at Pittsburgh and you look at their offensive line, They drafted offensive lineman last year. You had a Russell Wilson who had the ability to escape. Now, granted, Russell Wilson held onto the ball way too long, so on and so forth. But he still had a little bit of an ability to get outside the pocket and make things happen need be. Aaron Rodgers cannot do that anymore. His ability to make plays and create distance for a receiver with his legs by scrambling to the left or to the right and all that have passed him by. And that offensive line is going to have to learn to hold blocks, because Aaron Rodgers was the most sacked quarterback last year. And we could sit there and say, well, the Jets' offensive line sucked. Okay, maybe they did. Or maybe it's the fact that Aaron Rodgers held on to the ball because the receivers couldn't get open and he couldn't move to create more time and extend more plays. So I think it's a little bit of both. And so, again, I look at that as a big red flag, okay, and how that offensive line is able to protect Aaron Rodgers is going to be key, especially in that division. You talk about a defensive line in Cleveland, you talk about a defensive line in Baltimore that can get after the quarterback, and you got a sitting duck. And so, again, I think it's just really going to depend on how the offensive line can handle protecting a mobile quarterback. Pittsburgh had 2 mobile quarterbacks. And so it's just going to be interesting to see.
All right. I'm going to give you a little synopsis here. And this is what happened to the Jets last year. 2 years ago, Aaron Rodgers comes in, gets hurt on the 5th play of the game, first game, can't play. Jets defense steps up. Jets defense still incredible. So Aaron Rodgers comes back. And now we're like, well, Jesus, we're holding teams to 17 points. All we need to do is put 18 or 20 up on the board, and we can win these games. Well, then all of a sudden the defense on the Jets starts to falter. And I think they kind of had a false sense of security, like, we don't have to be elite because we got Aaron Rodgers. Well, then all of a sudden by the 7th game of the year last year, they're like, oh, shit, this ain't working. And then the Jets never recovered. Usually the strength of the Pittsburgh Steelers is on the defense. Now, last year, going down the stretch, that was not the Pittsburgh Steelers defense you are used to seeing at all.
Yeah.
They were tired. They were uninspired. The play was over. They were walking back to the defensive huddle. It was, and I hate the Steelers, but that was not what I'm used to seeing out of the Steelers.
Sure. Well, let me ask you this, Sean. Go ahead. I'm sorry, you weren't done. I'm sorry, you were just taking a breath. Go ahead.
And I'm afraid that now with Aaron Rodgers, this defense could fall into the same ideology and thought process as the defense of the Jets did.
Sure.
You know, so I think this could be a detriment to them. But, you know, Aaron Rodgers definitely does have an upside compared to Mason Rudolph.
Sure. Well, sure, but the one thing that I would like to ask you, Sean, when you look at the Jets, and I know you're a fan of the Jets, but you're also an objective fan, so I can ask you I can ask you this, and you, and I am an objective observer. As much as our friend Eric likes to think that I'm a Steelers hater, I try to be very objective, and I give the devil their due. I mean, it is what it is. So I'm not trying to be impartial. I'm not trying to be the antagonist here, but I would like you to ask me or answer me something from an objective standpoint.
Yes.
As a Jets fan, what offense would you say had more talent on it last year, the Jets or the Steelers?
Jets.
Okay.
By a scope.
Okay. And with that talent, the Jets were just barely putting up 20 points a game, 19 points a game.
And it wasn't even that in some cases. Our average,
Right.
probably
So now you're going to take Aaron Rodgers with that talented offense and defenses playing in the AFC East that weren't comparable to the defenses in the AFC North. And you are going to tell me with a lesser offense that Aaron Rodgers is expected to put up a miraculous sum of points that's going to offset what Pittsburgh did last year. And that's what I'm saying. You traded a Russell Wilson for an Aaron Rodgers and a DK Metcalf for a George Pickens. You don't have comparable or complementary playmakers to go along. You have guys who could. You have a Roman Wilson who could be that guy. You have a Robert Woods who is 35 years old, who might be a little upgrade from a Van Jefferson or whatever, but you traded out one set of spare tires for another set of spare tires. You didn't upgrade to new. And that's the issue, is where was the massive upgrade that's going to elevate Pittsburgh to that level above what they were last year?
That's a great question. Real quick, I'm just going to preface, more talented offense for your playmakers, the Jets, I think, had a more talented offense last year than Pittsburgh. Their offensive line was worse than Pittsburgh's. So, I mean, even Pittsburgh's offensive line is not great. The Jets was shit. But I think that analogy is very fair. You took off your tires and put on spare ones, but they had like 1/32 of inch more tread on them, so you can go another 50 miles. But the one thing that the Steelers are going to have that the Jets didn't last year is they're going to have continuity in the front office and the coaching staff.
Sure.
They're not going to fire a coach after 5 games and replace him with whatever. I mean, and I like the idea at first that Nathaniel Hackett being the offensive coordinator for the Jets because Rodgers was comfortable with him. And Rodgers did very well under Nathaniel Hackett. But the problem is the game has moved on.
Sure.
That game they used to play doesn't exist anymore. And it's a lot like Tom Brady's game. It's a lot of dink and dunk. We're going to get 5. We're going to kill you by 1,000 cuts.
Sure.
And occasionally I'm going to, when you start guarding that, I'm going to throw it way over your head.
Sure.
Jets just couldn't do that.
Sure.
So I don't know how he's going to work out in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I don't know.
The arm, the talent. Yeah.
And again, I'm not saying that Pittsburgh can't go 11-6, 12-5. I don't. I understand. At least you can. At least you might be able to afford spare tires. I don't even think I have a spare tire. So if my tire goes flat, buddy, I'm walking.
The funny thing is, I have spare tires for all my cars. I just don't know where the fuck they're kept. It's like, holy shit, where are these things? Okay, so first of all, we've just talked for 19 minutes about the Pittsburgh Steelers. So
it was the big news. It was the big news, and it deserved it. I mean, that deserved it. I mean, that was the free agent rumor since March. And the last thing I want to say about that, though, Sean, when you think about it, when you look at Pittsburgh, based on reports, Aaron Rodgers was not the first choice. Aaron Rodgers was not the second choice. Aaron Rodgers was their third option. Their first choice was Matthew Stafford. When Matthew Stafford decided to go back to the Rams, it became Justin Fields, and Justin Fields chose the Jets over the Steelers, probably because of the money that the Jets were willing to pay him. And then Aaron Rodgers became the third choice. So I mean, just putting that out there, not that it means anything, but again, something to ponder when you look at, like, Aaron Rodgers wasn't the brass ring. He was a bridesmaid. He wasn't even the maid of honor.
All right. Well, thank God you went in that direction, because at first when you said brass ring, I thought you were going to go to cock ring next. This is a family show, dude.
No,
you can't say anything for that.
Oh, I know.
Okay. So now that we've talked about the Steelers for 20 minutes, I probably have to excuse myself for 10 minutes, go take a shower, because I feel dirty all over. Anyway, let's go to another. This is a big signing. Nick Chubb to the Texans.
Yes. Yep.
And their running back last year was Singletary?
No, Joe Mixon.
Mixon. That's it. I'm sorry. Yeah, from Cincinnati. And they still got him, right?
Yep.
Yeah, this is gonna be a 1-2 punch.
Yep.
Hopefully, Nick doesn't get
this team could be very scary team.
Yep.
And I'm not just saying because of Nick Chubb. I mean, obviously that's huge. I mean, because the way I look at that, Aaron Rodgers' incentive in the deal, he basically signed for I think it's a little over 10 million, but
13.
It's 13, but he's got $6.5 million in incentives that can push it up to 19.5. And most of them involve, like, he gets $1 million if he wins the MVP, $1 million if they make the AFC Championship game, $1.5 million if they win the Super Bowl. So they are incentives that are they're achievable, because everything is achievable. The NFL is the NFL, so anything could be achievable. Practical, not really. So basically, you're probably looking at a guy who can probably, from an incentive value, he realistically could make another $1 million based on incentives. So no, I don't believe so. And again, it's not to take anything away. I think the greater sense of urgency, and I'm sure it will get done, but again, it's TJ Watt. They have to get TJ Watt taken care of, and he needs to be happy. Otherwise, it's going to be a long summer in Pittsburgh. You thought the Aaron Rodgers saga was bad. If it gets bad for TJ Watt, that team is going to be trouble.
No.
So
no, and here's the incentive for Aaron Rodgers. He's just a steel town girl on a Saturday night, looking for the fight of his life. And in the real world, no one sees him at all. They all think he's crazy. So he's just a maniac. And that's all it is. So we'll get him right there. Yep. TJ or Parsons or Trey Hendricks.
Who's getting paid?
That's a good question, Anthony.
Well,
who is getting paid?
Well, I think out of the three, I think TJ Watt deserves to be the highest of those three paid, without a shadow of a doubt. There's no question to me. I mean, for the last 5 years, TJ Watt has been, if not the top dominant defensive player, at least the number 2 dominant defensive player, between him and Myles Garrett back and forth. So, it's arguable based on your allegiance and whatnot, who has been the most dominant defensive player. From a team standpoint, TJ Watt should be the highest paid. From an immediate team need standpoint, I think the Cincinnati Bengals should be doing everything they can to sign Trey Hendrickson, just because their defense is already bad. Without a Trey Hendrickson, their defense is going to be god awful. So from the sense of urgency, Cincinnati, I think, has a higher urgency to get things done. But definitely TJ Watt deserves to be the highest paid. And Micah Parsons, he deserves his money. He's played well. But again, there's games where Micah Parsons disappears. You can't say that about a TJ Watt or a Trey Hendrickson. You know where they're at on the field all the time. And so that's just my opinion.
All I want to say is, Anthony, I want you to get in touch with me or Dave, please. I would love to have you on this program. Number one, because every time I go to segue to something, you put up a comment that like is a perfect segue, because I was going to start talking about the Cincinnati Bengals. My opinion in that is who's going to get paid is going to be Hendrickson. He's still young enough. Jerry Jones, in his infinite idiocracy, he doesn't like to pay defensive players. We've seen players, DeMarcus Ware and these great defensive linemen who have left because he just doesn't want to do it. He only cares about offensive players, quarterbacks, running backs, and receivers. That's who he pays. And between you, me, and the lamppost here, Parsons, I don't know what quite he's doing, but like he gets pissed off because he's like, God damn it, the Philadelphia Eagles did it again. Like he's watching the Philadelphia Eagles just get immensely better every year, and the Cowboys are just trying to maintain the status quo. As far as TJ Watt goes, he should get paid. How many years does he have left is a big question. He has not performed well in the playoffs, but also in the playoffs, you're accounting for him. You're making sure he doesn't make that play. So, he's 0 for 4 in the postseason. He's got 6 tackles. He doesn't have any forced fumbles. He doesn't have any sacks. But he's also getting double, triple team because they know they got another guy over there, Townsend, is it?
And yeah, you mean Hayward?
Yeah, Hayward. Thank you. They got to account for him, but the other guys they don't really give a shit about.
But and that's to the point, and that's the sad part is, come playoff time, and these are the things that people need to understand when you have teams that can. When people talk about depth on teams and playmakers on teams, when you can game plan and you take one player, just one player, out of your game plan, and you are not afraid to go up against 10 other guys with your 11, the team with the 11 always wins. And Pittsburgh needs to understand that they need to figure out how to get 11 on 11 in the playoffs, because that's where they're failing.
Yeah.
And
so I am now going to segue. Thank you, Anthony, for the segue, because we've talked about your question. Please keep posting them. So Hendrickson is a holdout in the minicamp, and so is Shamar Stewart, the first round pick of the Cincinnati Bengals, who's also an edge rusher. Mm-hmm. So this could be like big time coming off the edges. And I don't know what the hell is really going on. Shamar said that
the language of the contract. Well, the language of the contract. So basically, in the contract that Cincinnati is giving him, they put default language in there. So if he defaults on a portion of his contract, for the language that is in a contract, usually if a rookie or a player defaults, whatever that means per se, the guaranteed money for that year is now voided. So then they have to earn it through other means. What Cincinnati's trying to do is that if, let's say he signs a 4-year, whatever the rookie deal is, 4-year, $20 million guaranteed contract, and in year 1 he defaults, that will void the entire guarantee from the time he defaults for the rest of his contract. And he's like, ain't no way I'm signing that. I mean, you could change the language. You do it how you want, but I'm not signing it where you default and void my entire guarantee. It's the first time this ever been done or tried to be put into a contract. They're like, oh, hell, I ain't signing that, period. You ain't going to void my guarantee. You can void it for that year like standard contracts are, but you ain't going to void my entire guarantee. So he's like, I ain't signing that. You can change the language and I'll sign it tomorrow. You take that out and I'll be in your office ready to sign, but I ain't signing it like that. So that's what that issue is. And then the other issue is when you have $100 million tied up in 3 players on your offensive side of the ball, doesn't leave a lot of money for your best defensive player and what he should get paid, which is about $30 million a year. And so you're at an impasse. And if you're Cincinnati, you should have traded him before the draft. You should have got a draft pick for him and moved on if that was your deal. The longer you hold out, like Trey Hendrickson said, I'll take my fines. I'll show up at week 8 so I don't lose a voidable year, and I'll come in and play for the rest of the year. But there's no reason for me to be there. So it's going to get ugly before it gets better.
Yeah, I agree. And I was going to make a joke, but with what's going on in the world, I'm not going to do that. But it's like Cincinnati's woes on defense just got woeier, I guess.
Sure. Well, that's it. Exactly. And like I said, the only thing stopping Cincinnati from being a good team is their front office.
Yeah, I don't understand what they're doing at all. Believe me, as a Jet fan, I know like front office is baffling. Cincinnati right now is completely baffling. Not like if you had tiers like the Cleveland Browns are out there, and then there's 50 feet of crap than everyone else. But it is I just took that from Moneyball.
Sure.
It's concerning, and it's. How many games can you have 47 or 45? Until people really start getting hurt. So we're going to segue to the next thing, and this was pretty big, and there's a lot of different ways to think about it. But Green Bay cut Alexander, Pro Bowl, DB. My personal feelings on this, and I don't agree with the Colin Cowards and Nick Wrights.
Yeah.
Nick Wrights. I understand it's $17 million this year.
Mm-hmm.
I guess the big question is like, how many games are you going to get out of him? He's been hurt. When he plays, he's amazing. When he gets hurt, that's a lot of money to throw out on a DB. No offense, but in the NFC North, there's a lot of freaking, there's so many goddamn receivers who are catching so many passes. It's a threat. It's not like you're playing the Jets every week where you're scared of it.
Sure.
But,
Well, here's my thing, Sean, and think about this. Like they had Bo Melton, the wide receiver, practicing at cornerback over.
I was going to go there next, but go ahead. Yeah.
And so they're also taking the $17.5 million dead cap hit all this year. So they're not spreading it out. So they're going to take that hit because they had like 30 some million in cap space left, and they're going to take the dead cap hit in one shot. So I guess my question to all of that is Green Bay realized that they were better off taking $17 million in dead cap space over keeping a guy on the roster and paying him his $17.5 million, okay, and having his body on the roster because of the fact of how many games he's missed and his availability issues. So obviously when you look at it, there's more to his injury story than just being unavailable. I think the injury woes that the team feels are his from a medical standpoint are more concerning from the fact that I'd rather pay 17 and a half. I'd rather pay him his money that he was owed, take the dead cap hit, and not have him on my roster because I can't trust him. Our medical staff can't trust that he is going to last 17 games.
Okay, then that's fair.
Mm-hmm.
He's gonna get picked up somewhere. Oh, here we go, Anthony. Oh, sorry.
Yep. Where'd you go? You disappeared. Sean, get back here. Sean took himself.
God.
Sean took himself right out of the show.
I'm like TJ Watt and Hendrickson right now. I just took myself out. This is where teams happy taking dead cap on players. I think so. It's a certain time, and this is where the NFL has, kind of started to catch up. And I know it's a lot of money, but this is an entertainment. And, I know it's a sport, but it's entertainment. And sometimes you just got to move on from a bad investment. And, as I always say, in my family's business, I make certain decisions. I make $100 mistakes every day. When someone's like, "Oh, you do this for $100," or no, I make those mistakes every day. It's not because I want to, but I do. Sure. Unfortunately, at the NFL level, you're 17.5 million.
Well, here's my take on this is simple. Especially smaller market teams that don't spend to their salary cap anyway. It's easier to take on. It's easier to take on those dead cap hits and be done with it because number one, you're not carrying any of that money over to the following year, so you're not taking a portion of your freed up cap and having to account for it going into a free agent period. They had the money. They had $30 million in excess to spend. So from a projection or downward or downfield observation, it was easier to take the 17 million and just deal with it now, get rid of it, and go into that next year $17.5 million ahead instead of $8.75 million in the hole, so to speak. So yeah, it worked out good. The interesting thing now that we're talking about the cap, because I know Sean segues to different things, but the one thing that I will say is that the NFL and the NFL Players Association have been having issues or conversations starting now based on the CBA going to be opening up in 29 when it expires, but they're actually starting to discuss the NFL and the salary cap and the way it works now, and how the NFL needs to come up with a way to make a salary cap more of a hard salary cap so that teams aren't able to add the voidable years, add the future money years, so that you're paying out players and being able to push that money down the road, so to speak. So if you have a $275 million salary cap, the contracts and their money and their money that they make, it's almost a hard cap. You can't take a signing bonus of $30 million and defer it down the length of their contract. That money is all going to be accounted for in your salary cap for that year.
And I think that's cool. And the reason why I appreciate it so much is because it makes the playing field level,
Mhm.
and it makes the league more competitive.
Sure.
Like, I don't want to see, unfortunately, it almost happened, but like the Patriots win 11 Super Bowls in a row. No one wants to see that. I would enjoy some more hard cap numbers. Number one, so we can understand what the fuck is going on. Because there's, we all have different thoughts about the cap. And David, you're like, oh, well, it's not really a number. It's this, that. And we're like, well, but it is, but in this way. And there's you can't understand unless you're an accountant in this league. True. And it would be nice if the fans could understand it. And then we could understand a little more about what the hell is going on with our team. And I got, some of these teams, they got a $45 million dead cap hit because they signed these players.
Yeah.
And that's just,
Well, I think what it does, look at it gives smaller market teams, it keeps them competitive. Because the reality is this: when a team like the Dallas Cowboys and Jerry Jones, who's worth $10 billion, has the cash to pay a player a $60 million signing bonus in cash right for signing, as opposed to, and he's worth $10 billion, and then you have another owner who's worth $2.5 billion, and he's got to do the same thing to maintain his team's competitiveness from getting players to come and play. Okay. The disadvantage, and I know we're talking about billions of dollars and we're only talking millions of dollars, but still, it's kind of like, okay, you make $15 an hour, I make $30 an hour. How many times can you go out and eat steak? And how many times, if I'm making $15 an hour, can I go out and eat steak? So again, while you might, people like billionaires, they can afford it. Doesn't. Billion is billion, million is million, 10 is 10, 100 is 100, 1,000 is 1,000. It's all comparative. So when you have to pay a $60 million in cash bonus to a quarterback, and you make $10 billion, and you have to pay $60 million in cash to a quarterback, and you make $2.5 billion, it's the same thing. It's just on a bigger number. Okay, that's all it is. So again, at the end of the day, and you know what I'm saying. I'm not saying
I know what you're saying.
I know it's not feel bad for the owner, but seriously, look at. I mean, when you look at it, we talk about Cleveland. Okay, Cleveland has, number one, they have a lot of disadvantages. Buffalo, for a long time, had a lot of disadvantages. Number one, they were a bad franchise. Okay, but more importantly, they were a bad franchise because number one, Buffalo, the city, was not an attractive place to play. Okay, for many reasons. But more importantly, Ralph Wilson was not a overly wealthy man in terms of football owners. Okay, he wasn't an overly wealthy football owner. So that was what I always said is Buffalo, whenever they wanted to go out and sign free agents, had to overspend to get their players, because you not only had to sell them on the city, sell them on Buffalo as a place to play, which football players will play, but you had to pay them 30% over their market value to get them to sign. Now, once they signed, they loved it. But now, with the hard cap, if they do this, you're going to be able to force players and owners that, hey, that $60 million coming out of your pocket to pay this guy, it counts against this year. You can't push it down 5 years. You can't spread it out. You can't spread $12.5 million out and make his salary cap figure. That would be, 60 million or whatever it is over the 5 years or whatever. It's going to be 12.5 million or vice versa. So you're going to be able to level the playing field in terms of ownership and the cap being a more solid cap so that the competitive balance evens out, the player distribution evens out, the league becomes more, there's more parity in the league, I guess, for the proper term. So you get more level competition. Like you said, you don't get the 20-year dynasties, or you don't get the big spenders being able to spend all the money while the Jacksonvilles and all those smaller market teams suffer.
Absolutely. There you go. Agree with that. There's a ton of factors that go into where players sign and multitude of reasons. But we're not going to get into that because we're not a political show, and we never will be. Okay. So now I have gone through my list of shit. Let's, for the last 14 minutes, let's go through the Sports Illustrated 100 bold predictions. And the only thing that Sports Illustrated is they can kiss my job.
All right. Hey, before we go into this, Anthony, if there is any other questions you have that you'd like us to answer or talk about, or please feel free to throw them up. We'll be more than happy to talk about them. These are just stupid Sports Illustrated bold predictions that a lot of them are dumb, and again, inconsequential at this point. But just things we like to discuss and things that we like to talk about just to find out what.
And Anthony, I am begging you, get me or Dave your information. We got to have you on the show.
Absolutely.
You're our most solid fan. So Hot Pockets is up there during the season, but you're watching the off season. Thank you so much.
Yeah. So now. Absolutely. I'd love to have you on the show, Anthony, without any hesitation. So let's go to this. So this is the SI, which we do our
buy or sell.
What's that? The buy or sells.
Buy or sell.
So a lot of times Sean will get these from SI, and SI is stupid. So anyway. So it says here at number 71, because we started these from last week, but at least 3 teams will work out Justin Tucker over the course of this season. Is that a bold prediction, or do teams have kicking woes, and with a guy like Justin Tucker out there, does it happen?
I think this goes back to what you said last week.
Real quick, before I answer this, you were on the show one time. We've invited you to the show a million times. You just fucking came on once, Paoli. Get your balls up. And I know I still owe you your sweatshirt. I am having problems in the sites shipping it to you. Not actually shipping it to you, paying for it because it won't let me order from my own site. But I am going. I know I owe you. Don't start that shit. All right, buddy. Anyway, okay. What was the question again? Just kidding.
Justin Tucker.
No, I know. He's a kicker. It's 100% he's a kicker. No one is going to work him out. If he was a quarterback, if he was a running back, a receiver, a defensive end, somebody who was somebody, but he's just a kicker. No. No one will work him out until all this shit is either goes away. Because if it doesn't go away, it's not going to happen.
Now, SI says that Tucker might become a curiosity for a team or teams that are contenders who are struggling with kicking issues, whether it be an injury to a kicker. Like, let's say you're the Kansas City Chiefs and your kicker goes down and he gets hurt. Okay, and again, I'm not saying that Kansas City would do it. I'm just saying one of those teams that are you going to go out and sign a I don't know who, or would you take the proven commodity just to get you through the playoffs and deal with the repercussions of people talking shit about you after?
No, it's not going to happen. It's not like Vanderjack talked shit about Peyton Manning up in Canada when he was drunk and Peyton like lit him up.
He never had a job again.
Yeah, and not with this. Like if it was like he had a hit and run when he was drunk or something, yeah, he probably would get. But this is
right
20-something cases of sexual assault. No,
gotcha. Okay, so the next
fuck
one.
you, Mike. No, not happening. Not happening, Bailey. Oh.
He's trying to get you to read the comments before you actually read the comments.
And he's like, "Oh, what's up, dog?" It's
hey, what's up with you?
I have watched The Office before. Mike, you need to ask for repentance right now. Right now, just be. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to do that. I'll come up with something more clever.
Speaking of The Office, I got to say, did you ever see the blooper with when they were what's his name? Chris Pratt. When they were talking about everybody likes a great comeback story.
That's Parks and Rec. Yes. Kim Kardashian?
Yeah, Kim Kardashian. Well, she had come on her back.
Yes.
That's awesome. Anyway, I digress.
Paley just upped me. Justin Tucker did that in an interview. Okay, I thought he was going Office on me. He wasn't. He was going Justin Tucker on my ass.
Oh, there you go.
He just.
I bet he was going Justin Tucker on your ass. No wonder why you had to wear a thong. So
I just got sexually assaulted by Mike Paley by text. Oh my God.
Number 70, which I believe has already come true, if I'm not mistaken. John Gruden will get I don't think he's a head coach, but he's an assistant coach in college. So I think that happened. Now it says he will get a head coaching job in college, but I think he's an assistant coach or at least a consultant in college or whatever. So
I am not sure what is going on with him, but
I think he deserves to be an NFL coach.
That's a discussion we could have at another time.
We'll do that next. We'll have that next week.
But it needs to be very delicately put in a way. But
sure, I mean, he said some stuff and he did some things, but you know what? We'll leave it for next week because I got ideas, you got ideas, and we could spiral off into this conversation. So.
True.
We'll save that for next week.
Yeah, we got 7 minutes left or 6.5. Let's go ahead.
Let's go. So this is their bold prediction. The Philadelphia Eagles will win the NFC East. I agree.
What the fuck is bold about that?
Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, I agree with that.
My bold prediction is I will lose more hair this year than Yeah. Okay, go ahead.
Then I grow. Yeah. So this one is Bucky Irving will finish the 25 season as a top 5 fantasy football player. Again, I don't care about fantasy on this show, but if you do care about fantasy, I think that I don't think he will be a top 5 player. I think he might be a top 5 running back in fantasy, but I wouldn't agree that he would be a top 5 of the overall fantasy players in fantasy sports. He could be a top 5 running back, a top 5 player.
Yeah, definitely not a top 5 player, but
Yeah.
top 5 running back. Yeah, I can see that.
Oh, look at that one. Oh, look at you, Anthony. That's a beautiful thing. Sanders will be the starter for the Browns for at least 7 games.
I agree with that.
I could see that.
I totally agree with that.
Why not?
I think and like the 7 is the pivotal number.
Yep.
Because I'm like, you can't say for 12 games because I don't think that would happen. But yeah, if they've already after 10 games, because they're probably pretty shitty after 10 games, throw in Shador.
Yeah,
Wow.
I mean, when
you are wise beyond your years.
Mm-hmm.
And wait. Sean will lose a bet to Mike next year and wear another thong. It's supposed to be thong. No, that is 100% not going to happen. The girlfriend has already put the kibosh on that. She's like, it is not happening.
But don't worry, Mr. Paoli, because I still have that picture, and that picture will live on this show in infamy. And from time to time, it will be shown at random points throughout the year, just to remind everybody what an ass Sean is. So.
Now there you go. It is your birthday, David. Oh shit! Here he comes.
He's here. He's here. Just in time.
You look like the freaking snowman from Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, Burl Ives.
Yep.
Silver and gold. What's going on, Eric?
Not much, guys. I was trying to catch up on the chat. I've been a busy day.
Mm-hmm.
Aaron Rodgers is coming to Pittsburgh. That's cool. I'm sure we've talked about that on the chat and link.
The first 20 fucking minutes.
But, I will say something, Eric, and you can go back and listen. I did not say anything derogatory other than my opinion. I did not bash the Steelers. I did not. I mean, I gave my opinion, but it was not in a cruel and demeaning way. It was just my opinion because, again, unlike everybody in our chat, I try to be very fair and objective in how I see things.
I think I'm very fair. I think I detest that statement. I think I'm very fair.
Oh no, I'm not saying you. I'm not accusing you.
Oh,
but no. All I think is I think sometimes in some things you do let your fandom drive your emotional responses to some of your observation.
Okay, so here's the thing.
That's all.
I want the million viewers watching tonight, to know. Okay, you should never deny who you are. Okay, so when you're talking, you should always be yourself. So if you're a fan of a team, you should always be a fan of the team. Okay, objectively speaking, okay, just setting the bar. I will say, I say things sometimes to get reactions, and I get pretty good reactions out of people when I say certain things, and it turns into maybe a day's worth of reading, the Odyssey after I start getting people certainly emotional. But okay, I'm not the only emotional person on that chat.
Well, I did not say you were,
and so I came on here to say the expectation I have. And all honesty of that, and then I'll move on to what I came on here to do. The expectation I have for Rodgers, and this isn't I don't think it's 20. I say 20-0 because Jeffrey gets so mad. But the expectation is I think they can get past the wild card round, and that's it. I think they can get past the wild card round. I was reading today, CBS Sports always puts out good articles, and I was reading about people's the floor and the ceiling. Okay, the floor.
God.
Here we go.
Oh shit! All right, here. Wait, ready? Sean, just put your speaker on mute. Okay,
I should.
No, I did not come. I did not come to interrupt. I think that he was talking to me, so I wanted to make sure I was here so he could talk to me. Continue. I will not interrupt. I promise you.
Boogie from fucking Nightmare Before Christmas, Jeff.
I'm here
Anyway,
for it.
Eric,
Yeah,
please continue unimpeded, and happy birthday,
Yeah.
David.
So, I mean, in all honesty, I'm going to get ready to watch the NBA Finals, and I wanted to come on, and I'll hang out if Jeff wants to go back and forth for a minute. But Dave, happy birthday! You
Thank
are the
you, sir.
logical logic. You are the non-emotional logic. I enjoy your fair and balanced, Fox News version of the logic.
Oh my fucking god!
Presentation. Hey,
Oh my
I appreciate it's not fake news. You're always very fair, and you're to the point. You're a fan of your team, but you're still very mature, and you're the big brother that Jeff deserves to have. And so, happy birthday to you, okay? And then
Mason Rudolph's going to the Super Bowl.
Keep
You
talking,
sound like
Eric.
John Fetterman trying to suck up to the Republican.
Eric,
No,
don't
just
take the bait. You're on a straight line. Keep the straight line going.
I'm Brett Baer, fair and in balance. So go ahead. No,
I hope you've had a happy birthday. Okay,
I did.
I'm having fun coaching running backs. It's a blast, And as I was competing, I was thinking of. I said, "Hey guys, I got to wrap it up because usually I go a little longer, but I wrapped it up early just for you, Dave, so I could come on here and just
Cool.
tell all the viewers that the logical logic deserves a happy birthday, and I hope you admit it. All right.
No. But hey, don't leave yet, Eric. And again, like I said, for myself, I was just I was very fair to Pittsburgh, and but I'm going to let Jeffrey speak now because
I have nothing to say. I just came in to bust balls. I mean, honest to God, I didn't come in to. I jab Eric enough, like every day, like all day, right? I mean, and I just bust his chops. I didn't want to come out here to bust his chops. I just saw he was talking, so I said, I think my presence alone will be felt. So I'll just come in here and not say.
It's like Tom and Jerry. You guys are like Tom and Jerry.
No, it's good stuff. Happy
like
birthday.
bottom and top.
And Jeff, I know you missed me on the chat today. I swear to you, it wasn't anything personal. It just was I was busy as hell. But tomorrow, when I'm not busy as hell, I look forward to picking this up and figure I have to read through the Odyssey to catch up on what I missed today because there's a shit ton on there. But I will catch up.
Yeah, but I wasn't even talking nonsense really all that much today.
I know you missed me on the chat, and I unsubscribed from the chat, but I still get it. And I click on it, and it's like there's 6,527 messages from 2 days ago. Like it goes back. Like I know you missed me on the chat. Jesus Christ, you guys, you quarrel. It's like you're two 80-year-olds who are married and you just can't get along.
But it's so funny, Sean. I gotta, things make me laugh because anybody who knows me knows my conversation. Like it's funny because Eric will say something like "you're emotional" or "don't get angry," and I promise you, while I'm typing, like it's just how I talk, and it's not even like I'm actually like the blood pressure isn't rising. I'm not like upset, and even when I say the things that he feels is like targeted or pointed or mean, like I'm just like. Man, I wish you were just sitting here because I guarantee if we were just sitting here, you'd be like, it would just be a normal conversation because it's just how I talk. But it's funny to me because he'll be like, no need to call names. I'll be like, I didn't call you a name, Nancy. I
used to take. If you notice, I used to take your shit offensive, and now I'll just be like, okay, yeah. It's just the way you show love. Is so you.
No, it's just how I talk. Look. Here's the deal, Eric, and I'll tell you, I don't talk to people. I mean, so like I talk to people I talk to, right? And that's how I talk to people. Like those are my friends. Like I mean, it's not like I'm trying to be disparaging. It's I mean, just how it is. Hey, but listen, real quick question, right? So did we see the Shaq Thompson signing? I just don't know if we...
Oh my God, dude! I can't believe I love Dave, and that's the most illogical thing that's ever been on that chat. That we had somebody that's 35 years old that made 15 tackles and no impact. Hey, look, we signed Shaq Thompson. I mean, okay, great. So every time we get a camp body, are we going to be posting about, we signed?
Dave does do that, but it's funny.
But you see, I do that if Buffalo signs Shaq Thompson or the Broncos signed J.K. Dobbins, or the Steelers signed some other spare tire,
J.K. Dobbins compared to Shaq Thompson?
No,
why not?
I was just reporting that somebody signed.
Even if we were, why not? The dude hasn't played a full season in his career, so it's not as. I mean, yeah, when he's healthy, he's like a really impactful dude, right? But the problem is he's been healthy for like 3 games every year, so it ain't that significant. Anyway, neither here nor there. I just thought it was funny that, like, I think. I mean, it's fine. I just brought that up to be a dipshit, but I mean, right now it's like gonna get started. I mean, when you start looking at the free agents that are remaining and the teams that are trying to fill needs. Where do the people like Jalen Ramsey's still seeking a trade? Miami's still trying to seek a partner. Boy is now free.
So let me ask you this question, Eric. Let's say tomorrow Pittsburgh signs Jair Alexander. What would you do?
They're going to the Super Bowl.
Hey,
would that be a great signing? Wait, hold on. Would that be a great signing?
Let me answer because I know I'm waiting on bated breath here for my answer for this. It would not be a great signing.
No.
Because
but would you put Jair Alexander ahead of Shaq Thompson in the conversation? Like Shaq Thompson, why? Jair Alexander is just as unhealthy as Shaq Thompson is. Shaq Thompson's
he's not 60 years old.
But Shaq Thompson's had a career where he's done things throughout his career.
Right. Okay. This is the wear and tear debate. This is the positional debate. Quarterback, this is why Rodgers at 41 isn't the same as
he's not the same as he was at 26.
No. This is why Rodgers at 41 or 42 isn't the same as Josh Allen running and getting hit all the time at 30.
Can I ask you a question?
Corner, inside linebacker. Linebackers are getting
who's had more injuries in his career, Allen or Rodgers?
It's been equal. Rodgers had one.
One major one. No, he's had a couple.
He's had
and a torn ACL
in his whole career.
He didn't tear his ACL. He I don't think, did he?
Aaron Rodgers tore his Achilles.
The Achilles, he's had one major injury, and Allen's not had. Allen's had a lot more little injuries.
Allen played with a broken hand last year.
Missed how many games?
Okay, he's in his prime. Just wait. So, okay, I will give you Cam Newton. Okay, Cam Newton was great until he wasn't, right? He kind of fell off real fast, right? Started taking hits, wasn't the same. Okay, the T.J. Watt hit against Carolina, or where Carolina was in Pittsburgh. Okay, he started getting hit, but Josh Allen hasn't
taking hits.
He hasn't.
He gives them out.
No, he's taking. Well, yes, give them out, but you can only give them out for so long. That's the point. That's the human anatomy. You can't just go into a car wreck all the time. You have to avoid the car wreck. Being hit by an NFL linebacker is being a car wreck.
I get it. So, but again, what you do is you base your you base your opinion on what could happen, as opposed to basing your opinion on what factually did happen.
No, I hear that, but everything that you say, well, this is what's factually going to happen next year. Okay, fair, but it's still hypothetical. So the goal is it is hypothetical.
There is no factually. There is no there is no conversation ever about what's factually going to happen next year. Nothing.
Well, that's our job's to project.
No. Okay. So here's the deal, and this is I'm glad you stated that, because projections are based on things that have happened in the past, and yes, you can have an idea that this guy's gonna have a breakout year, or you can say that this guy's gonna have a down year, and you could say that stuff and flip a coin. But when you look at things that have consistently happened repeatedly over time, the only thing to consider, barring a significant injury, is that it's consistently going to happen yet again. Like for me, what was baffling to me just in our conversations is that you said something like Buffalo's offense is going to be ranked 19th and Josh Allen's going to be horrible because his horses suck, or whatever thing you said. That's fine. But throughout his career, there hasn't been that. right? It's only been consistent. Yet you came out and said Roman Wilson's going to be a 1,000-yard receiver, and that I think that had to be a joke because if it was serious, those two things are not real because consistently you have nothing to go base it off of. Plus, on top of that, you'd have to consider that Rodgers would have to feed the ball to Roman Wilson, DK Metcalf. You said you're going to have a 1,000-yard rusher in Warren. Those things you're not going to have 85,000 yards this season. Your offense isn't that good.
Okay,
I mean, no offense is, right?
Quick response.
So
you're right.
Sure.
You're not going to have 4,000, but I do think Roman Wilson will be a significant contributor, not based on KD's Ravens.com, but based on outside perspectives talking about how much better he looks in certain situations.
Well, he has to look. But Aaron,
let me finish.
Does he have to look better because he didn't even play a snap last year?
I mean, that's fair.
He looked better then.
I mean, Elijah Moore right now looks really good in Buffalo Bills minicamp.
But he's never done anything.
And neither has Roman Wilson. Roman Wilson hasn't done it.
He did in college. I mean,
and so did Elijah Moore. He was a second-round pick.
Let me finish real quick. If we're comparing a 2017 Ford F-150 to a 2018 Ford F-150 used in the same manner, okay, they're both hauling, and the 2017 has certain maintenance issues, then we could probably expect the 2018 being used in the same manner is going to have similar issues. Correct?
Maybe. Okay, but go ahead.
If the same model is pulling a certain amount of weight, doing a bunch of driving, putting a bunch of miles on, then the 2018 being used in the same manner is probably going to have the same defects down the road, correct?
Maybe. Go ahead.
Okay, so if Cam Newton, who played that style, and took the abuse he took all that time, got to 30 or 31, 32, started to have the same issues as another quarterback who's running and taking a lot of hits or delivering hits, then you can expect that player at a certain time period isn't going to age into an old quarterback. Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson won't be old quarterbacks.
So let me ask you this question.
Unless they want the caveat, unless they evolve.
Right, but let me ask you. I don't think. But wait, before you ask the question, just here's the deal. Let me just say this, and I'll just throw it out there. I love the idea that he should be an old quarterback. The reality of all of this, I think it's hilarious to me because there's an anomalies that exist. Drew Brees, short quarterback, still one of the right, but he's an anomaly. You have people like Tom Brady, who was an old quarterback, went to Tampa Bay and won a Super Bowl. Cool. If Peyton Manning was an old quarterback, and when he won a Super Bowl, he did not look very well. And good thing his defense stepped up that year they won because the year before he was good, but he was anyway. Bottom line is those are anomalies. There isn't a typical 36-year-old plus quarterback historically that's been worth a fuck. You get like a Tom Brady, and now honest to God, you don't have. It's not a common thing. So regardless of you don't have Josh Allen into his 40s, okay. Got it. But guess what? Who else did we have? I mean, you can grab a handful of quarterbacks and not even a full hand. You grab it like this because how old was Ben when he retired?
39.
Okay.
3 years too late. Wait, 3 years too late because the last 3 years of Ben's career were trash, and he should have retired 3 years before.
And you also say that Josh Allen plays like Ben Roethlisberger, but yet you were talking about Ben Roethlisberger as a Super Bowl quarterback at 39, and you're telling me at 20. But you're telling me that at 29, Josh Allen is broken down.
Yeah. So response.
God damn it! Are you fucking with me?
So I'm going to give Sean the floor, but Ben turned in.
I don't need the floor. I'm just. You guys can continue. I'm going to bust off for the night.
Okay.
You guys all have a good night. Happy birthday, David.
Thank you, boss man.
Happy birthday too. But the point, Ben evolved. Todd Haley made Ben evolve. Okay, and they need the same thing for Allen. I know you hate this, but they need to tell him. Yeah. Okay. Hey, it's not worth.
Ben could have evolved, but he's still after 36. Ben Roethlisberger was trash.
No, I agree. I think he should have retired.
So that's what I'm saying. No, I guess my point.
Hold on, let me
Right,
finish.
I'm not trying to shit on Ben. That's not what this is about. I guess my point overall is this: if Josh Allen lasts to 36, cool. If Josh Allen lasts to 47, great. But at the end of the day, 35 years old is the typical wearing out of the great quarterbacks. And here's the deal: you could say he's not going to make it. I don't give a fuck. Until he doesn't make it, he doesn't make it. I mean, I cannot stress that enough. I'm not going to say he's not going to get hurt because here's the deal. Guess what happens every fucking practice, every fucking mini camp, every OTA, every preseason game? Someone is out for the season, and guess what? They were well prepared, physically able, and all the good stuff, and they get hurt. You can't predict that, and I hope nothing. I never want to see a single player in the NFL injured. I hate it. I hate it for them. But at the end of the day, with all things being the same, all I say is he's going to play football in the manner in which he plays football. If they hold him back and they do things, then good on that. And if he evolves, then good on him. I mean, McNabb had to evolve too, right? And I got it. But the reality to me is, until there is a downward area, he had injuries. Every quarterback that played football last year, every single one that played was hurt. All of them.
Okay.
Some
Yeah.
missed games, some missed halves. Josh Allen missed nothing. So
Yes,
I'm
and
just
so
letting you know.
And I respect. I hear you, and I respect that. What my concern is I'm telling you, okay, you guys, as much as I bust your balls, and I enjoy it. Okay, I sit there and I enjoy the cat and mouse part of it. I enjoy the chess part of it. Okay, I love it. I enjoy the shit talking. Okay, some days it makes my day because my job super sucks, and I won't say that on TV because I'll probably get banned forever because everything's so really sensitive when it comes to that kind of stuff. But you know what I'm speaking of, Jeff. That stuff that drives me nuts.
I do.
But if the thing, if you're going to win a Super Bowl, okay, for a franchise that has never won a Super Bowl, okay, and you get a Josh Allen who is a once in a franchise quarterback for you. Jim Kelly was good, but Allen's better. Okay, just like Ben's better than Bradshaw. All the old timers can argue with me, but Ben was better.
No, I
And
agree
so,
with that.
and so you get this quarterback, okay, and it hasn't happened because your coach has done some really stupid shit, and your quarterback hasn't executed the stupid shit he was supposed to execute in the long run, okay. Whether it was the tight end's fault or Allen, whatever, it hasn't happened. So now you look at him and you say, okay, well, how long can I keep this window open? Okay, and that's my whole point. Is if you've got to change him, okay, just as the way
But
that they
I mean,
told
Eric,
that Haley told Ben.
your ideology, but
Hold on. Haley told
sure.
Ben stop being an idiot and stop trying to take on defensive tackles and get rid of the ball. So Ben got rid of the ball in 3.5 seconds. Allen has to evolve into that. It's got to be a quick game.
He does do that.
No, not enough.
No, it's okay. But again, you talk about that, but here's the difference, right? And I'll always go back to this. And this is the part that always makes me laugh, right? And this is why I will tell you today, right now, I don't give a shit about Super Bowls. I know that if it ain't a Super Bowl, it ain't a thing. I don't care. That's why I will tell you that Ben is not as good as Josh Allen at this point in his career. I'll tell you that. But here's the reason I tell you that. And this is the funny part, right? This is the part that frustrates me. I've listened to you for 2 years talk about weapons, horses. I've listened to you talk about bad defense. I've listened to you talk about Steelers Pro Bowl, Hall of Fame potentials that are on their current roster right now. I've listened to you talk about. I watched Ben with AB. I watched Ben with Le'Veon Bell. I watched Ben with Hines Ward. I watched Ben with every. Because I watched the Steelers, right? I watched football. And it's funny to me because you talk about these things as if this dude won the Super Bowl by himself. Thank God for James Harrison, right? Yeah, he made a good pass at the end that was caught with a good catch, right? But at the end, what I'm saying is simple. We don't have any of that. Yet and still, this dude is where he's at. I wish we could go in and put some offensive weapons that were Pro Bowlers, potential Hall of Famers. I wish we do that on the defensive side, but we still maintain that level of excellence, right? I would love to see a Super Bowl win. It'd be great. And here's the deal. To your point, if Josh Allen doesn't get one in Buffalo, maybe it's not going to happen ever again, right? I don't know. But the reality for me is this: if Josh Allen, the Buffalo Bills quarterback, we have a shot to compete. And as we watch it, whether he plays till he's 30, 34, 36, I'm going to enjoy the time. I can't tell you what's going to happen on Sunday. I can't tell you if I mean, shit, let's go back in time. Only 2 years ago, Aaron Rodgers took a step back and Buffalo sacked him and tore his Achilles tendon, right? I mean, no, that was the first drive of the game. I mean, it was horrible for the whole season for this guy. I'm a Rodgers fan. But at the end of the day, I also know that there's probably a time when someone should say I should retire. We've watched it in every professional sport, and I'm hopeful for the Steelers and for Aaron Rodgers because I like him. I don't want to see him look like Ben did the year he couldn't even throw the ball, and you guys were just getting laced up. But oh, by the way, that's not just a Ben thing. That was a Troy Aikman thing.
Yeah,
That was
so
almost that was a Drew Brees thing. I mean, all
yeah,
these things that existed. A Peyton Manning thing.
I hear you. And so I just want to say just what you were saying, and I love this about you, Jeff. First of all, and I'm going to be quick. Who would have thought, Dave, on your birthday we having the Big Ben versus Josh Allen debate? But I love it. But I'm glad you came on, and I'm glad you admitted frustration because frustration equals emotion. So really quick. So I'm glad we admit we have a little
Where's
bit of
frustration?
You said frustration, did he not?
Where's
Dave?
frustration? What did I say?
This is the part
about
where I
what?
get frustrated.
He gets frustrated with your argument about.
Okay, that's still emotion. So I love you too, Jeffrey.
No. What I'm saying is I do have an emotion, but it's the frustration of you. You always talk about things, right? All the things, doing the research on the things, but you in the arguments itself consistently talk about the Pro Bowlers, the Hall of Famers, all of these elite players, but then act as though that I mean Ben has no MVPs, right? Because he was never the best player on his own team.
So
Josh Allen is the only player that's on Buffalo's team right now at all. And I'm not saying, oh, by the way, when I say this, I'm not voting Josh Allen into the Hall of Fame. What I am saying is, if you were going to talk about any Buffalo Bill with the potential to be in the Hall of Fame, it's Josh Allen.
He's all.
Yeah, maybe.
But
maybe. I mean, again, he still has ways to go.
What I wanted to say,
but no supporting cast for that.
When I wanted to go, and I'm starving because I've been running with running backs all day, but I'm starving. But I wanted to get this out. What you said about Allen, about enjoying the time he has, and about watching the quarterback, you described exactly how I felt about Ben. So my love for Ben and your love right now for Josh Allen.
No, but Eric, see, that's I think that's the problem I have with you in general because you are a homer. And what I mean by that is, listen,
you too.
I'm saying that because here's the deal. When Ben was playing football, I enjoyed the time with Ben. Just like I enjoyed the time with Dan Marino, and I enjoyed the time with Tony Romo, and I enjoyed the time with Pat, even Tom Brady, as much as I didn't like him. Peyton Manning and Drew Brees, like Patrick Mahomes, even Lamar Jackson. Like right now is a different time, and I get that. But these are the guys, and I'm enjoying the time because hey, listen, what's next? Like you don't know. I think what's funny is that I remember talking to my stepfather when I was a kid, when Jim Kelly was the quarterback in Buffalo, and he was talking about the old time players and how football wasn't the same, but he still loved the game and he still liked the Bills and all that good stuff. But he talked about the old players, and I was like, man, you don't know what you're talking about, man. You got Jim Kelly, Dan Marino, you got a whole bunch of great cast right now. Well, now we passed that era, and everybody was like, oh, there's never going to be another era like that. And then you had an era like that with Peyton Manning and Phillip Rivers and your Ben and all those guys. And then that era ended, and you're like, we're never going to have another era. And then here we are, right? So to me, it's just a matter of, look, I'm not going to come. I mean, I talk shit to you about Ben being a top 20 and whatever his number really is. I don't care. It was great to have had watched him. It was great to have watched some of these guys that were able to last and play well and be elite for themselves. And whether they won championships or not, I wish they the best. But at the end of the day, for me, I just enjoyed the time. Why? Because I don't want to watch Caden O'Connell. Whatever that dude's thing.
And Jeff, to your point, you're right. And this is the thing. And Eric, you're too young. Okay. How old are you?
Pushing 40, my guy.
Okay. So you're too young to really remember the 80s, the early 80s, the class of 83, when you had Kelly, Marino, all those guys who came out and were
That's
like
the
you said.
birdie.
Yeah, and you were talking about the once in a lifetime draft class of football players of those type of guys, and some teams. Marino he went to one Super Bowl, was never back.
In his rookie year, never went back.
And it never diminished the fact that he was probably one of, if not the greatest passer in NFL history. But do you say he's one of the all-time greats because he didn't win a Super Bowl? I don't think if you talk to any NFL executive, sports announcer, pundit, opinion giver will never not put Dan Marino in the subject where the greatest passer in NFL history. But because he doesn't have a Super Bowl, does that diminish him as a player?
Hey, David.
Yes.
Hey, David.
It should.
Maybe it doesn't.
Yeah.
It doesn't because you look at Don Shula at that point and say, "Hey, look what you did. You had a guy and you didn't put the pieces behind it." I mean, he never did.
Playing quarterback is more than just numbers, and that's to me, it's if you're not able to lead your team to a Super Bowl, that has some weight to it. Is Marino a top 25 quarterback? Probably. But is
Marino's
he
a
among
top
the top
5 quarterback.
No, he's not. No, he's not.
Oh my God, dude!
No, he's not.
Dude,
far better.
You then that's what I mean. You're too young to remember to watch the
No, I
game of
watched
football.
Marino. Okay, I remember Marino because I was at some Colts.
But hey, Eric, let me ask you this question. Okay, you tell me so are you saying that Ben Roethlisberger is a better quarterback than Dan Marino?
Based on their careers, and if I
No.
had to weigh their career, hold on. Based on their
okay.
careers, I look at their accomplishments,
Okay,
and I would say, which career would I take? Would I take Ben's or would I take?
no, I'm not. I don't give a shit about what career.
Is Marino a better? Is Marino
No,
a better? Is
I'm
Marino
not.
better?
No, I'm
Marino is
asking you. I'm
Is
asking you. Is Dan Marino, is Ben Roethlisberger a better quarterback than Dan Marino?
Playing the quarterback position, I think Ben Roethlisberger is better.
Okay,
Let me finish. As a passer, if I was playing just a pure passing perspective, and I took out the leadership, I took out the toughness, I took out all the intangibles.
Wow.
Okay.
Wow.
dude, you have
Then,
no.
then,
Wow.
then yeah, Marino's better. But I think Ben for the
Okay,
toughness,
so
I think Marino could have lasted in the AFC.
all right. So
I don't
name
think he
me Ben Roethlisberger's receivers.
Sure. I mean, and
No, go ahead.
like Aranda Gaston and all the ones that Marino.
Yeah. Tell me a wide receiver in Miami who's in the Hall of Fame with Dan Marino. Could you do that?
Does Ben have a receiver in the Hall of Fame?
No, he doesn't.
Okay.
You know who his best receivers were? Mark
Aranda
Clayton
Gaston.
and Mark Duper.
No, Aranda
Okay.
Gaston.
Wait, hey, hold on. Wait, David, hold on. You asked the question wrong because you asked if to give you receivers, but if you listen to Eric talk, AB's a Hall of Famer, Hines Ward's a Hall of Famer, Cordell Stewart's a Hall of Famer. Listen, hey, look.
No,
none of them. You're right. None of them
Hines
are.
Ward.
Hey,
Hines
here's the
Ward.
deal.
Hines Ward.
Look, Hines Ward's not. But here's the deal.
Shut up. He is.
Cool. He's not. But
Yes.
look, I mean, because is he there right now? No. But here's the deal.
Because people hate him.
Yeah. Okay. That's fine.
Because he hit hard.
Listen, people
The
hated
best
Michael Irvin
blocking
too.
Best blocking wide receiver ever.
That's a stat. That's a stat. Hey, but here, real quick, David. Let me.
It won games.
No. I'm saying because that matters in the Hall of Fame voting. That's why I'm saying it. Hey, but real quick, because my phone's gonna die, so I'm gonna go. But listen, real quick. All of that sounded great until he said that Roethlisberger is better than Marino. That's funny. But here's the other part. I don't really care about all that stuff. What I care about is this. When we talk about, I love to hear, because Eric is a fan of Roethlisberger, and Roethlisberger is good, by the way. But I love to hear when Eric starts talking leadership and using Ben as the staple of that. I just think it's hilarious when Ben wasn't even the most vocal dude in that room ever because the defense ran that shit.
Yes, he was.
When before Harrison, it was Greg Lloyd. Before it was Lloyd, it was Kevin
No,
Green. I mean,
no,
listen.
I mean from 30 to 30, 37 or 38, Ben was the leader in the locker room.
Oh yeah, I could tell. I could see how much he was leading and throwing AB under the bus and all the receivers getting pissed off and fucking doing crazy shit because Ben
Still doing crazy shit with them gone too. That shit hasn't changed, has it?
Well, no, but I think Jeffrey's phone died. But and I'll get going in a second so you can do your thing. But no, like I said, but here's the thing, and this is just what I think. I think it's crazy that you would put Roethlisberger ahead of Marino, and I don't care about how many Super Bowls Ben Roethlisberger has. I will tell you this, and say what you want, but Pittsburgh won 5 Super Bowls. Right, 5 in the 80s or 4 in the 80s, whatever it was.
Four in the 70s.
4 in the 70s, or 70s rather. 4 in the 70s, and that was based on their defense. Okay, their defense won those Super Bowls in the 70s.
Bradshaw was clutch.
Bradshaw was a mediocre, average quarterback. Terry Bradshaw, maybe I don't give a shit about weighty moments because his defense. He didn't have to worry about a weighty moment because his defense took care of any weighty moment he could have had. So, I mean, when your defense scores 21 points in a Super Bowl, you don't have to do too much. But besides that fact, the thing that I will say, all right, when you look at it. Dan Marino never had a defense the caliber of Pittsburgh. If Dan Marino had Pittsburgh's caliber of defense, Dan Marino would have probably been a 5-time Super Bowl champion. Okay, but they didn't have the defense. And I'm not diminishing Ben Roethlisberger, but I will.
My phone's died. So
your phone died?
Yeah, I'm at like 3%. So.
All right. Well, then I will let you go.
Hey,
and we're going to take off.
Yeah, really quick. So everybody on the show here. Dave is the heart and soul of this show. He keeps it going. A lot of us are coaching and doing other things. So make sure you get on there. Give Dave some love. Dave, I love you for keeping it going. Okay. And I'll talk to you soon. Okay.
All right. Love you, bro. And for everybody, we're from the couch. We'll see you all next week. Take care.